Hello and welcome back to the Spin the Rock podcast. I'm your host Angel, and with me today is my co-host
Vaughn.
All right, just Vaughn today. More off-season stuff all together, and then of course, our end of season recap that we talked about last week. But real quick, something that we didn't talk about on last week's episode, but I think wasn't fully revealed, that Kevin Durant off-season trade was the biggest trade in NBA history with 7 teams involved, bro. Like that's actually insane. How do you feel about that, Vaughn? Do you really care about it? Um,
It sounds a lot more exciting than it actually is, because then when
yeah,
you go down the list of like players and picks, like there's no real juicy picks. There's no players that I really know outside of like what we've already covered.
yeah,
KD, Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green. Um, I thought it was crazy that like it's being like advertised as this big crazy thing, and it probably is on like the GM side of things. But as like a fan, I don't care. I couldn't care.
sleeping. Yeah, bro. It's kind of funny because like the 17 trade, I was like, oh shit, maybe like more stuff got moved around that like kind of got like overshadowed. No, bro, you could have cut out 5 of those teams. I'm not even kidding. 5 of those teams could have been fucking out of here because like realistically, none of them really gained anything. I mean, there was some teams, I think it was like the Nets or something like that, who like they barely got anything. And it's like, why are you even here?
Yeah, some of the teams like the focal point of what they received was cash. I'm like, good for them, but
Yeah, it's boring.
you know,
All right. But yeah, I just want to bring that up because that wasn't fully revealed last week. I'm pretty sure. I think it just got like revealed 2 days ago. Um, but as soon as it usually happens, as soon as we get off, bigger news comes out. So we're gonna go over trades first, then signings, and then hopefully have time for our topic. First off, trades. On the 30th of June, the Denver Nuggets made their first move this offseason, and probably their first move in a long time. The Denver Nuggets traded Michael Porter Jr. and a 2032 first round pick for Cameron Johnson. How are we feeling about this?
something's happening.
Yeah,
Finally, something has happened. This is just really big for the Denver Nuggets, not only because Cameron Johnson is of similar like effect to Michael Porter
yeah,
Jr., but like there's a lot more upside because he can handle the ball, better decision maker. He was averaging the same points, you know, with no playmaker as Michael Porter Jr. And so the burden of that is no longer on him. So it probably just frees him up for like more cleaner opportunities. Um, and then the money situation, bro. Cameron Johnson, had that fat contract, but even still, it's like less. It's almost half of what Michael Porter Jr. is making, which has freed up all this space so Denver could go further and make more signings. Which like this is exactly what you want. For the most part, uh, we can get into what happened at this backup center spot later, but like now they have room to actually do something there. Like we won't have to see DeAndre Jordan fill that backup center spot. But yeah, Cameron Johnson, big pickup, probably one of the best trades so far, I would say.
yeah, yeah. I'm excited, bro. Cameron Johnson, like you said, he's literally a cheaper Michael Porter Jr. He does everything Michael Porter Jr. does. He even has some aspects that are better than him. Um, so I'm excited to see how it works out. Um, you know, see how it does look with him more playing that role player kind of role rather than the main guy. But like, I just think it will just make us have more reliable offense. Michael Porter Jr. Wasn't that reliable towards the end of his tenure with the Nuggets, especially during playoffs. Granted, he was injured, but like he kind of is wishy washy. He's kind of inconsistent. So it would be nice to see that reliableness, and then of course the first round pick. Worst thing that worst case scenario is that we're dog shit in 2032. But at the end of the day, like we don't really need first round picks, bro. Like one, we don't play our draft picks anyways, and then two, um, if we keep performing as we have been, we've been finishing at least top five almost every season, for a while now. So if we can keep doing that, that first round pick shouldn't be too harmful. All right, and then moving on, Hawks. Landed Nikhil and Alexander Walker in a sign-in trade situation. So the Timberwolves got a 2027 second-round pick that was originally Cleveland's and some money. And the Hawks got, of course, Alexander Walker. How do you feel about this trade?
Bro, it's a Hawks Lincoln build summer, bro. They might actually be out of mid. Even if Porzingis misses some games, at least they have a sturdy defense. You know, combining Dyson Daniels, Nikhil Alexander Walker, and then Jalen Johnson. It's looking bright for them, bro. Like especially East wide open. This could be the season they finally do something in the playoffs. Um, but yeah, great signing. Timberwolves just get worse. I mean, you get a second rounder, but like you were about to lose him for nothing. Right, at least you got something back. But
Yeah,
Timberwolves still have stuff to do. The Hawks, you know, if it ended today, I think you're in a nice spot. But they could be doing more moves for all we know. I like what they've done.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, it seems like the Hawks are like seriously trying to contend, or not contend, but they're getting tired of just being right down there in the middle of the East. Because if you're middle of the East, that means they're bottom of the West. Like, and it just seems like the Hawks are tired of like being so mediocre. You know, they either get eliminated in the first round or they lose in the playoffs, and it seems like they haven't gone further than that since the fluke finals run, conference finals run. So I'm excited to see how they look this season. Will they finally be in the 600s? Who knows? But it does look like they're actually trying to do something for once instead of just one semi decent move and then nothing else all season. All right. And then next up, more Nuggets moves. So the Kings and the Nuggets swapped the big man. So the Nuggets got Jonas Valanciunas and the Kings got Dario Saric. Um, we got to get into the big controversy right away. Jonas Valanciunas is either considering retiring or playing in Greece. Um, and then everyone was like, "Damn, that kind of sucks for the Nuggets." And then the Nuggets just earlier today said they're gonna make him like fulfill his contract, which I don't know how that works considering he was traded to them. So I don't know if they can do that. I don't know anything about the contract side of that the NBA. But that was the recent news is that they are gonna force him to like honor it, honor his contract. How do you feel about this whole situation, Vaughn?
I just thought he was like gone and gone for good. Like you said, bye, like
Yeah,
buyout. But I guess a team could just be refusing to buy out a contract. They could be like, no, honor it. I guess that just means does Jonas Valanciunas sit out, or will he actually suit up and play? I don't know, but
or just retire.
he could just retire. Yeah. Assuming he does play, like it's exciting for the Nuggets to have a reliable backup center for the first time since like 30 games of DeMarcus Cousins. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but if he doesn't, we're right back to square one at the center spot, bro. Nothing to back up Jokic. Hopefully that doesn't like edge them out of pursuing a different backup center. But if they're really confident that this is their guy, then I guess they're going to try and do everything they can to keep him. I
Yeah,
don't even know who would be a proper replacement at this point that would take the money. It's like $10 million or so that Valanciunas is making. So if they got a $10 million center, who's better than Valanciunas? I don't know. It's got
yeah.
to be someone who takes a pay cut like crazy, and I don't know who'd be willing to do that.
Well, especially because out of all the centers we could have gotten, like if this is like, there's so many centers that we could have picked up earlier that we can't pick up anymore. So Jonas was like probably the first center in a while that we could actually, like, who I feel like the only center available now because Clint, you know, he got scooped up. Um, and like I'm not saying I wanted Clint Capella, but I'm just saying like any other center, they're pretty much already like where they want to be or where they already got traded to a team. So I'm just saying, like, if this doesn't work out, we're fucked again. Like, it's just like I don't think there's any other center we can get until um the mid-season trade deadline, and then that's maybe when we can make a move. But until then, if Jonas doesn't play, we're pretty much back to square one. And like you said, like neither of us know how it works. If they can do that, if Denver would be like, no, you're honoring your contract, and Jonas suits up. Like, I don't know how that works. He could easily be like, oh no, my knee hurts for some reason, or I'm retiring, not playing Greece after all. But then the next year he plays in Greece. Like there's nothing like stopping Jonas from like getting out of this realistically, because it was
Like
a trick. So like it's not like he has a contract directly with the Nuggets or anything like that.
I just wonder what it boils down to. Does he just not want to play for Denver specifically, or is like
I thought I saw that he doesn't want the limited role. I'm pretty sure I saw that he because he wasn't apparently he's gonna get like more like 10 to 14 minutes a game, and he doesn't want that, which makes sense. I don't know why the Nuggets, because if that is true, that's dumb on the Nuggets part. You have a backup center, and you're gonna play him just a little bit more than your other centers you've had in the past. Like I feel like they should give him a little bit more time, but
yeah, I can see that, but also like that would mean having to play Valanciunas and Jokic together at some point. And I
yeah,
don't know, two big slow guys on the court. You might be
that's not gonna be fun. Well, especially
yeah.
because Jonas is older. I feel like people are forgetting that he's not necessarily a young player. He was drafted in 2011, bro. Like he's 33.
Yeah. Um I hope he does stick around just for the sake of the Nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
But I do see the justification of like give me more playing time.
Yeah, yeah. I think the thing that concerns me the most is that if he does end up either leaving, faking an injury, or retiring, this is the only trade that I legitimately think makes us contenders again. Because the Cameron Johnson move, that's just like replacing, like we had that already, and we still fell short. I'm not saying like Cameron Johnson isn't going to make us 10 times better. I think we will get more wins. But I'm just saying it's not the stepping stone that I see Nuggets fans say. And then our other two pickups, we'll get into later. That also doesn't get me excited. The 33-year-old, and then the guy who was already here when we last won, like out on a 1-year contract as well. Like it's just like this is the only move that made me be like, oh shit, we're gonna actually contend this year. And so if he sits out, retired, or just like leaves altogether, I'm gonna be bummed because I just think we're gonna be maybe finish higher than last season, but I don't think it will make us. I don't think we'll win this season without him. To be honest. All right. Next up, I'm only talking about this because it kind of deals in that Malik Beasley situation. But the Pistons already replaced that shooting because they acquired Duncan Robinson from the Heat in a sign-in trade. So the Pistons got Duncan Robinson, and the Heat got Simone Fontecchio. Fontecchio.
Fontecchio. You got it.
Fontecchio. Yeah, so it was a sign-in trade. So they replaced that shooting because more than likely they're not going to have Beasley for this upcoming season. How do you feel about this? Do you think Duncan Robinson will finally get that playing time?
I just don't know. We just see like every year it's like one year Duncan Robinson's in the rotation. Next year he's getting DNPs, limited minutes. Um and I don't think he's ever returned to the peak of shooting that was like that finals run with
Yeah,
Jimmy Butler. And it doesn't seem like he's going to like suddenly magically make that happen again. Maybe the change of scenery, does something for him. But like Malik Beasley was one of the best shooters last year.
yeah.
He's like top 5 in percentage or in makes or something like that.
He was
So
one of the not just best shooters like last year, but he was etching himself into history that season.
Yeah. So whatever Duncan Robinson does, I don't think is ever replacing what Malik Beasley was doing at the level he was.
Yeah.
But there's also no guarantee Malik Beasley would repeat that. Um, Even then, like even Malik Beasley was like 3/4 of what he was doing, he'd be pretty good. And I don't know if Duncan Robinson can reach that level. I'll give it to Duncan Robinson. I think he's you know been had the benefit of being coached by someone who knows what he's doing on the defensive end. And even though Duncan Robinson's not the best defender, has found ways to make him effective.
Mhm.
Maybe that will translate on the Pistons, but I don't know. Uh, He could be part of a competitive group, but I don't think he's like putting them over the top or helping them go further than last year.
Yeah. No, I agree wholeheartedly. I think it was just like we're not gonna get him back. Who's available? Who's a shooter? I think Duncan Robinson, I think he's going to play a completely different role altogether than Beasley. I don't think they're going to really use him as much as they did with Beasley. I think he's probably just going to be a catch and shooter this season. And I think he's just going to be on there to shoot threes and kind of be in the corner. Um, just like kind of just, standing there with his hands up because like Malik Beasley was all around, like he was doing everything for them, like pull up jumpers, creating space for himself, and the catch and shoot. Whereas Duncan Robinson, I feel like one, you know, it's unrealistic to expect that out of him, and two, like I feel like that's not the type of player he is all around. I feel like he's a efficient shooter, but I also feel like he's not the type of guy who can like win you a game. And I feel like Malik Beasley had moments where he did win the Pistons games. So we'll see what happens there. All right. And the last trade I'm going to talk about before I ask you if there's any you feel like we should talk about. Um, I want to bring this up because it's kind of sad. The Houston Rockets traded Cam Whitmore for 2 second-round picks to the Wizards. Um, Kind of disappointing. Cam Whitmore was looking like a look not looking like, but people wanted him to be a star in Houston. They wanted him to contribute. And after just 2 years, he's already going to purgatory. How do you feel about this trade?
I just feel like there's no more room for him on this roster.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of similar to Jalen Green in play style, but they gave Jalen Green the benefit of playing all these minutes, and Cam Whitmore not really.
Yeah.
Um, so at least on the Wizards, he'll have more of an opportunity than if he had stayed on the Houston team. But Houston's gonna be so much more competitive, probably a better environment. Because, like you said, Washington is purgatory. So, like, there's no guarantee. Like, even if he does show out, they're gonna give him the benefit. They got Bilal Koulibaly, they got Alex Sarr to worry about. They got other younger guys that are probably more of a priority to them. Um, but he's athletic. He shoots threes. Um, Maybe he's like the Cam Thomas of the Wizards. Maybe he's like the only guy scoring at some points. I don't know. Um, so at least he can flip this in his benefit if he plays his cards right.
Yeah, it's just gonna be hard, bro. They have a lot of forwards that I feel like will get more time than him right off the bat. I mean, Chris Middleton, Sarr, Keyshawn George, Richon Holmes, um, even JT Thor. Like that man was getting some playing time for a little while. I don't think he is anymore. But at one point, he was getting solid playing time towards the end of the season. Um, so it just like sucks. Like out of all the teams to have like a lot of forwards, like of course you got sent to the Wizards who have a shit ton of forwards. Um, but we'll see. I mean, I feel like they kind of just randomly give people playing time on the league. Like you really don't know if you're gonna get playing time or not on that team because they give everyone a chance, bro. I mean, I'm pretty sure fucking like half the team has started at least once this season.
Yeah, I don't even remember who the head coach is for the Wizards.
know.
but he's not been making a splash in the best direction. But he's got more vets, be it C.J. McCollum, Chris Middleton, and so on. So maybe they start looking more like a basketball team than a G League team. That
Brian
can only help.
Keefe.
Yeah, see, I didn't even know that. Um, just goes to show Wizards purgatory, bro.
They really are, bro. They really are. I mean, they're also just a weird team. They have Malcolm Brogdon still. They have Marcus Smart still. Chris Middleton, CJ McCollum, and now you're adding the rookies into that. Um Alexar, uh their newer rookies, and then also just their younger guys that they kind of been hoarding these years, like uh, what's his name? Keyshawn George, Bub Carrington, uh Trey Johnson. Like they just have so like such a weird team, bro. Like what are they doing?
Yeah, like I know the expectation is like their high draft picks, develop into stars, but I don't even see the star potential whenever I've seen a Wizards game with them. It's like they might be a farm for really good role players that eventually get traded down the line. That's all I can see. That's all I can envision for them.
Bro, the fall from grace for Malcolm Brogdon is kind of insane, bro.
Is he signed to that team or is he a free agent?
I don't know. Let's see here.
I think if a competitive team wants to take a risk, I think he's the risk worth taking. But I think that's like less
Yeah,
than
I
10
think he's a
teams.
free agent.
Yeah, I feel like there's not that much teams that have a market for him right now. Part of it has to do with playing in Washington, I guarantee you.
Oh yeah, bro. I mean, to think that at one point he was like, "Oh, like if you want to make a splash, get Brogdon off the Pacers," and now it's like, when was the last time you were on a winning team, bro?
Yeah, like after Boston, it's just been like the guy who's always there. But I wouldn't say he plays like exciting basketball, so you're not gonna be seeing a whole lot of highlights. But at the same time, he's like been solid. But then if you're not playing a competitive environment and you should be playing on a competitive team, I can see how your stats go down. 'Cause it feels like you're not really playing for much.
Yeah, I think what happened was Boston, bro. He wasn't that guy that Boston wanted. They shipped him off to Portland. It's been downhill since, bro. All right, that's all the trades I'm bringing up. Is there any trades you feel like we should talk about?
Um, okay, this will be yes, this one is kind of like a preamble into what we will talk about later. But ever since you know who signed a deal off the Pacers have had no starting center, and they recently traded for Jay Huff. Jay Huff, part of the Grizzlies, um, I would see him every now and then. I would praise him as a role player, but now the fact that he's going to be the starting center possibly for the Pacers is scary. Only considering like Jay Huff is like a diet Miles Turner. Like he's not quite as good of a shot blocker as Miles Turner, but he can shoot the three. But we've only seen that in small sample sizes, so it's like a lot of stress is going to be on Jay Huff to like recoup what they lost with Miles Turner. And it's just like, bro, this cheap ass team just went to the finals, and now you're just letting your some of your best players walk away, and now you got to like try and scrape together, the replacement.
With Jay Huff. So that's why I skipped it, bro. Because I honestly, I'm sleeping on Jay Huff, but he played for Denver 1 year. And even then, I think he played like maybe what, like 15 games, 10 games.
Yeah,
Like,
like first 3 seasons in his NBA career, I think he only played like 40 games. So the
yeah,
whole league was sleeping on him. And
yeah.
like
And then,
out of desperation, Grizzlies started playing him, and then they saw some potential in him. But now we're here.
so like, I don't know. Like, it's definitely like not even a downgrade, bro. It's a fucking. I fell down the stairs, and this is what's left over of what fell out of my grocery bag. Like, you replace you know who with Jay Huff, it's like you're definitely losing so much. But it also leaves him a chance. He has no choice but to start. Who's gonna start over him, realistically?
True. Like
Is Bryant?
Isaiah Jackson. There's no way Thomas Bryant would start, bro. One of the worst defensive centers in the league. There's no way. Like Isaiah Jackson and James Wiseman both tore their Achilles last year. I don't imagine they're sliding right into the starting spot after all that. So it's probably him, unless they slide Siakam to center,
No.
which is crazy. Good luck to the Pacers. I feel bad for the fans.
Tony Bradley.
Tony Bradley, bro. No, they just might play him. He got finals minutes for no reason. He might be their starter.
Yeah, because I'm looking, I'm like, bro, yeah, because Siakam might be your only option. Because like Topping's too small. Like you said, Thomas Bryant is ass. And then Tony Bradley, who like, let's be honest, bro. I hate the name Jay Huff on my roster, but I would also hate the name Tony Bradley. So I don't know. It's
This
definitely a
is
weird situation.
this is the situation they put themselves in. I can't feel bad for management.
No, yeah. All right, and then moving forward to signings, right off the bat, this happened as soon as we got off the pod. So we ended recording, we all went our separate ways, and then like 5 minutes later, Eugene sent this message. Houston Rockets signed Jabari Smith Jr. to a 5-year, $122 million rookie contract extension, bro. How do you feel about this, Bond?
Some people will say overpay, but I'm like, if it's a young guy you drafted and you see potential, and this is the contract you give him. At worst, you trade him later down the line for maybe a star or maybe for a cheaper role player, whatever the direction the franchise is going. I like it. I like that you're securing Jabari Smith. I've enjoyed what I've seen from him so far, and the expectation is that he improves. Like, he's a core to the defense. Um, I think you would like if he's more reliable of a 3-point shooter, but he's not terrible there. I thought it was a good signing through and through.
Yeah, I mean, it makes so much sense, bro. Like, why would you not re-sign him? And this keeps getting scarier. We'll keep talking about the Rockets, but the Rockets are looking like a natural contender this season, and that their second seed run might not just be a fluke. It might be the norm going into the season, but we'll see. But yeah, it seems like they're not this. Okay, we have a solid team here. Let's add some small pieces. Let's get KD and call it a day. It seems like they're really trying to build something together, and especially with Adoka, bro. Like, that's a good coach. And now he has his footing there, and he also has a vet, which I feel like Adoka loves his vets. Um, it might be a different tune about the Rockets in Houston. Before it was like, oh, how did they pull off the second seed? Now I feel like it might be expected to redo that.
Yeah, because
All
they've
right.
only improved themselves, and like
Yeah.
with this, like they're going to be good for years into the future. So
Okay, I'm skipping some stuff. I'm skipping a lot of stuff. So, okay, next up, the Memphis Grizzlies, uh, you know, re-signed Jaren Jackson Jr. A 5-year, $240 million extension that includes a player option for the final year of the deal in 2029, 2030. How do you feel about this, Vaughn? That's a bag, bro. That's a bag.
yeah, they had to trade pieces off to give him this big of a contract.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is something they were working on like ever since they traded away Marcus Smart. They were just making room for this the whole time. Which, last season I said is the season to, like, what are the Grizzlies going to do in the playoffs? You know, Jaren Jackson Jr. is a big part of why they're competitive. But bro, that is a lot of money, bro. I don't know what they can even do with their roster in the future to improve, you know? I don't see him being on this team through that whole contract only because it's so expensive. And if they're just gonna be mid, they're gonna miss playoffs if they're a first round exit. I don't see how you can justify, you know, keeping this core together. And we've already been seeing it with like getting rid of Desmond Bain. So it's like, how long are we gonna see the Jaren Jackson Jr. show in Memphis? I don't know. Um, so I guess we should enjoy it while we can because I won't lie, he is one of the most versatile defenders in the league, and this is the money to reflect that, but it's just so jammed up now. I don't know what they can do.
Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of like the worry about the Grizzlies is you expected them to blow it all up. I feel like a lot of people expected that, or either that or make some big moves, building around what they already have. But it seems like they just are doing what they can to keep Jaren Jackson Jr., which I feel like is kind of smart, but also not really when you're still needing to add a lot to your team, bro. So you're just like, if that was your goal in the offseason, was just like free up space for him, it might be rough for the upcoming season, bro. Because now you lost Desmond Bain, and not only that, but you're losing a lot more pieces. And I feel like uh, the Grizzlies need to add, and they're just subtracting a lot just to keep Jaren Jackson Jr., which like he is worth it in my opinion, but I don't think he's worth it for the Grizzlies. I think they should have done something else, honestly, because
Right,
they might be like mid table this season.
right. Because who can you add to complement him specifically?
Yeah,
Because it really feels like lately they've been viewing as Jaren Jackson Jr. the star of the show
yeah,
versus what we thought would be John Morant. Like we thought this was John Morant's team, and it
yeah,
could still be, but like that's just not the feeling I get from what the franchise has been doing with these moves. You know.
yeah. All right, moving on. Dorian Finney-Smith agreed to a 4-year, $53 million deal with the Houston Rockets, bro. Another move that kind of makes you think, they're cooking something up. Uh, Granted, how much does this really excite you?
It excites me to think that the Rockets have like, if one guy goes down, you got another guy to replace that defense. I think it's insane. They might have like a top three defense next season.
Yeah,
Um, but sucks for the Lakers though. That was that team's best on-ball defender. And they've done nothing to replace him. I especially going to another team in the West. Like, what if you got to face that defense? You've just
yeah,
helped contribute to it by like letting that man walk. So good for Dorian Finney-Smith. Good for the Rockets. Not good for the rest of the teams in the Western Conference.
yeah. It was one of those things where like I liked the move altogether, but it was one of those things that's like it's smart. It's not exciting per se. Like I'm not thinking, oh shit, they're gonna win the fucking whole thing. But it is enough of a move. I'm like, no, that's like a smart move. That's showing that the Rockets know what they need and not what the Nets did, and they just swung for everything. Like it shows that they are trying to build up on what they had instead of just like adding random shit to make them better. So that's really exciting. Uh, but it does make you wonder, um, Lakers, why'd you let that man go, bro? I mean, out of all the people you could have let go on that team, he was kind of crazy. And like I feel like on the Rockets he might shine. It just depends on like how they use it. But I think he might shine on the Rockets.
Bro, even if he doesn't shine, you're just like glad the Lakers don't have him guarding your best player.
Yeah.
You just like took that away from them. So either way, I think it's a win.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're such a more competent franchise than when I had to watch them like 3 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, they done a complete 180. All right. And then next up, D'Angelo Russell agreed to a 2-year, $13 million deal with the Dallas Mavericks. How do you feel about this?
Okay, so they needed a point guard until Kyrie returned,
Yeah,
and they fulfilled that. But I just hate the idea of having to watch D'Lo and AD play together again. I've seen this show before. Um, D'Lo, I think his play style is just much more suitable for like a shooting guard role. So maybe when Kyrie comes back, they'll have him be there. But bro, it's just like he's definitely going to be a good fill in. But once Kyrie returns, I think he just doesn't make sense to be there. And I get it. I get the move. Um, in a similar position, I may have done it too. But I think I would have preferred a pure point guard like a Tyus Jones to really let Anthony Davis shine because we know D'Angelo Russell is gonna like make it the D'Lo show in certain parts of the game.
yeah,
Um, I'm just very mixed about this signing overall.
yeah. I'm kind of like, just kind of like, oh, it's. I get why they did it, but it's also like at the end of the day, it's just not something that I feel like the Mavericks. I feel like they need a reliable scorer, and D'Lo is not that. D'Lo is not a reliable scorer. I feel like he would be a solid backup point guard, and I feel like if that's how the Mavs use him, go for it. But if he's gonna share that floor with AD, Kyrie, Coop, uh, it just might be more of a hindrance to the Mavs than it will be a help.
Right.
But
Like it's gonna be a bad look if Cooper Flag plays smarter than D'Lo on the floor. That would be a bad look. But there's like a lot of guys you don't know what you're gonna get from every night. Like Klay Thompson in this era is, in his washed era. You don't know if you're getting 20 or 5 from him.
yeah,
D'Lo, same deal, just the way he plays. He could go off for 30, or he could give you a goose egg.
yeah,
And then AD recently, not just putting injuries aside, AD recently hasn't been as consistent as he used to be.
yeah.
So
This
it's just
team 5 years ago would have struck fear in the hearts of the league. This team, 2020, 2019, might win it all. But it's just a bunch of washed ups. Like that's what like it's like guys who are like aren't the same as they used to be, who can give you that performance every once in a while, but won't every single game.
yeah, it's basically like a warped repeat of Harden, KD, Kyrie Nets.
Yeah,
Like it's not quite the same, but it's similar flavor.
yeah. All right. And then yeah, okay. And then I'm only bringing this up because of how he played last year. Ty Jerome agreed to a 3-year, $28 million deal with the Memphis Grizzlies with the player option in year 3. I'm bringing this up, like I said, because he was a finalist for Sixth Man of the Year last year. And at one point, he looked like a huge help to the Cavs, and then where was he during the playoffs? So, how do you feel about him going to the Grizzlies?
I thought the Grizzlies got him on a discount considering
Oh,
how
for sure.
effective he was, throughout the entire regular season. He was doing things that needed to be filled on that Cavs team. And we know how it flamed out come playoff time. But a lot of people on that Cavs team flamed out during the playoffs. Um, I think they got very lucky with this signing. He honestly should be somewhere else for bigger money, but with the thing about Jaren Jackson Jr., I think Ty Jerome and him do help each other. It's the question of do John Morant and Ty Jerome coexist with each other? Do they slide Ty Jerome in the shooting guard spot after Desmond Bain not being there, or is that a KCP role? Is Ty Jerome going back to the 6 man? There's just a lot of questions. I think they are overall a worse team, but they are still a competitive team.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the biggest question for me is, can he start? Like, are the Grizzlies gonna give him that opportunity, and can he do good with that opportunity? Or is he gonna be one of those players who just, like, for some reason when they're coming off the bench, you're just a better player? Because he could honestly fulfill that 3-point shooting that they're losing. But it's just whether or not he can perform as a starter. Uh, but I mean, he shot 43% from the field last year for three, and that's not like diabolical. That's not like the best, but that's also not bad at all. And so, like, if he can be that shooting guard who can just, like, base the floor for them and just really just lock in on that 3-point shot, that 19 minutes, 12 points could easily be 25, 24, 20 points. Like, it could honestly be a beneficiary to the Grizzlies, because I feel like they lost a pretty reliable scorer. And so, especially with how cheap he is, 3 years, like, it might be helpful to the Grizzlies. It's just depending on if Ty Jerome is forever 6-man or if he can actually be a solidified starter in the league.
I think a piece of them why the contract is so cheap is maybe they're scared that last year was a fluke year, or like the 1 year he's gonna be at his best.
Yeah,
That could be a possibility. Um, but yeah, like fire your agent, bro.
yeah, yeah, true. Because even if you did have a bad playoff, like, you definitely could have gotten way more money. All right, next up, I lost my place. Okay, next up, Kevin Porter Jr. agreed to a 2-year, $11 million deal to return to the Bucks. How do you feel about this one? I honestly thought he was going to be gone, to be honest.
Yeah, I did too. Maybe it was like a Bucks like panic signing, but I really didn't feel like he was like contributing to them winning. I feel like everywhere he's gone, he's played for like empty stats,
Yeah,
and it just like he's the type of guy who gets scored on as much as he scores. Maybe I just haven't been watching close enough. Maybe I am wrong about this, but like the Bucks are in such a like point of desperation. I think they just at least want to maintain rather than get worse. And
yeah,
this just feels like a maintaining thing.
yeah. I have nothing to say about this, to be honest. I mean, I should have thought he was out of the league. um, just because you know the Rocket situation, that team really had faith in Kevin Porter Jr., bro. Like, they did not give up on that man. Uh, I feel like, honestly, I could have seen him staying just as long as Jalen Green did, but of course, that didn't happen. And then you go to the Bucks, and you just kind of like you average, 10 points, but those 10 points did nothing for your team if you think about it. And like every time he was on the floor, it was just like kind of taking up space. Um, so I do wonder how he will play, this year, and if he can improve at all, because he is still young. I mean, he's 25, so I do wonder how he will perform going into this season. Moving on, Bruce Brown has agreed to a 1-year deal with the Denver Nuggets. I don't know how much, but he's
I think
back.
it's a cheap deal. It's like it might be near a minimum.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna say it, bro. I'm gonna say it, and I'm only saying this because it seems a little too true. It literally feels like the Nuggets are only bringing them back because of fans and because Bruce Brown is like basically.
I think your mic disconnected or something.
Yeah,
I hear you. Okay, okay.
but that man was showing up at the playoff games. Like, he was doing interviews all the time, talking about how he loved playing in Denver, and so like this kind of screams like, fine, like, like come back, I guess. Like, it doesn't really seem like the Nuggets actually want him to be there. Because 1 year minimum, bro, come on. You're not re-signing that man.
Yeah. I think if he's going to revitalize himself, it's going to be next to Jokic again.
Hmm.
Because playing next to Jokic got him that fat contract to go to the Pacers,
Yeah,
and he was like kind of good in stretches on the Pacers, but like then he was just trade bait for like the Raptors and then the Pelicans, and neither of those teams he really seemed to have an effect on.
yeah,
So I think this is a good swing for the fences to see if you can like shake him and see if he's got anything left in the tank. Really, I don't. It's really low risk. Like given the money, it's a low risk. Um, I don't think his 3-point shot has ever been the same, but Jokic can give him open looks. Maybe
yeah,
that's what it takes. You know, maybe he's only good next to Jokic. Like some role players are like only good next to LeBron throughout their career.
yeah.
Um, I like the deal. The Michael Porter Jr. trade opened this up to be even a possibility, so that thing is still paying dividends. I think I probably like this signing more than you do, to be honest.
I, I, I'm not gonna lie, bro. When we first lost Bruce Brown, I was like kind of bummed. Like, why didn't we try hard enough? But then, like, it seems like he's been on the decline every single season since then. And I know it's only been like two, but still, it just seems like he hasn't really been the same. And like the one aspect that I liked about him was his defense. And then even his defense, he's not quite as like he's not really as fast as he once was on defense. He wasn't necessarily that menace he was during their finals run.
Mm.
And so like bringing them back for that 1 year deal just kind of makes me think that like it's both him and the Nuggets being like, what can we get out of this? And it just feels like out of all the people to get, out of everyone to like, like build up our roster, bringing back Bruce Brown just feels more of like a, I guess, like a why not kind of situation. And I think he will be better though than he was on any other team. I think his 3-point shooting will go up, and I think he will add some scoring to our roster. But at the same time, he's a small forward. I like all of our forwards more than him. I like Hunter Tyson more. I like Watson more. I like Cameron Johnson more. I like Aaron Gordon more. Like I like all those players more than Bruce Brown. And I don't want him to take time from Tyson and Watson. To be honest, like that's who I'm worried about is going to get the boot. Is Tyson and Watson?
I guess just like you would know more about Hunter Tyson and Peyton Watson than me. But I feel like I've only seen those guys be good like one out of every 10 games. And if you want to build out your bench, because a lot of this has been like complaining about the lack of depth in the Nuggets bench. Like last year, it was Westbrook coming off the bench. And if you
Yeah,
pad it out more with, a Bruce Brown or a Jonas Valanciunas, I think that just gives you more tools in the bucket to use
yeah,
rather than, Hunter Tyson, you're using a screwdriver for a job of a hammer. Like I think
yeah,
it doesn't hurt you, but at the same I do see why that would be a concern. But I also don't know what the new coach, like what his
yeah,
schemes are, what his rotations are. So
yeah.
that all remains to be seen.
Yeah, that's fair. Because I honestly have no idea how this new Rock Nugget's going to look. I mean, we have a lot of new pieces all around. I mean, we lost Westbrook, and then we gained a backup center for the first time in years. We added Cameron Johnson and Bruce Brown. So it honestly could be like a situation where like I like the way the team built, but I look at my guards and I'm like, okay, with Westbrook gone, we basically have Braun, Strother, and Murray. And I'm not saying that Strother and Braun aren't good backup guards and aren't good like shooting guards, point guards, but I really want a real point guard, bro. I really want a real point guard who can shoot the three reliably, rather than bringing back Bruce Brown for 1 year. Just because Christian Braun isn't a good 3-point shooter, Jamal Murray's not a true point guard. He's just like a shooting guard, like who just has to play it because he has to. And then there's Julian Strother, who like I think he should be playing a lot more, but I haven't seen him enough to justify that. Like I just know that he can shoot the 3-point better than honestly everyone on our team. He's probably our best 3-point shooter, but he doesn't play enough. So I can't really say that and like defend myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
So we'll see. I'm not like saying chase this man out of Denver. I feel like a lot of people are hyping up the Nuggets, and I'm just kind of like, are we really that much better? If Jonas Valanciunas leaves, I honestly think we just kind of took a step sideways and a step forward. All right. Next up, Clint Capella agreed to a 3-year, $21.5 million deal with the Houston Rockets. How do you feel about this one?
How much money was that?
21.5 million.
I've fallen off the Clint Capella train years ago, but considering he'll be like the third center on the roster, I'm like, okay, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Um, I think he's just insurance in case Steven Adams gets hurt. Otherwise, the Şengün Steven Adams combo is like gotta be prime time over there. I just I think Clint Capella was a lot of the reasons why the Hawks were so mid for so long is because A, he's an undersized center, and B, he's gotten to the point in his age where he no longer has that bounce that he had in the Rockets era, original Rockets era. So it's just now it's what what purpose is he really going to serve outside rebounding? And if he's just the third stringer and all you do is ask for rebounding from him, I think that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of like, why not, bro? You have two centers besides the really young guy. Um, why not just have him out there, especially if you're going to use him as a backup center? I think he can be a good backup center. Um, as long as that's his only role as a backup center. If they start starting him every once in a while, like what are we doing? Like, or they try to do like Sengun and Capella, or like um, you know, try to play them because like Sengun and Adams kind of worked because Sengun like plays completely differently than Adams, and also Adams is just one of those guys who like he can box out enough to where you basically have space in the paint. He's not taking up space, but Clint Capella literally just stands in the point. Like he just stands
Yeah.
in the paint. He doesn't really do anything. He just kind of stands there waiting for a rebound, or like a quick lob or something. He doesn't really like move around. So I feel like if they try to do Sengun and Capella at all, like just keep them as like your insurance backup, garbage time. Let's rest Adam. Let's rest Sengun. Let's put him out there for a little bit. I see them succeeding, but if they try to do anything more with him, it's like they do not learn from Hawks, bro. You really can't do anything more with him. He's not the same Rockets Capella he was, bro. Like he was only good because James Harden can make any center an all-star. Like that's just like I feel like no one on the Rockets can really make Capella that good.
And considering he's replacing Jock Landale, I think I feel even more comfortable with this because Jock Landale, whenever he's playing, and it wasn't a whole lot, it's just like one play he looks like an NBA player, and the next play down he's like just forgot what it means to play basketball. Um, so so at least this is an improvement. Yeah, it's just another move the Rockets are showing that they're committed to winning, and I like seeing that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. All right. Next up, Chris Levert agreed to a 2-year, $29 million deal with the Pistons. Um, I'm bringing this up because who's going to be left on the Cavs? The Cavs are
Yeah.
losing a lot of pieces.
Well, he was on the Hawks, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, no, I thought he was on the.
He
Cavs
got
towards the end.
well, he was on the Cavs, got traded to the Hawks for DeAndre Hunter.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, never mind then.
But I also don't see where he fits in the environment of the Detroit Pistons.
No.
Uh, this felt like they're searching for a Malik Beasley replacement between Duncan Robinson or Karis LeVert.
Yeah,
But it's like if you combine those two players, I think you get Malik Beasley. But you don't combine them. It's just you get half of the equation with each. So maybe this does work out, but now you're gonna have two guys fighting for minutes, especially when Jaden Ivey comes back healthy. Like you basically just signed two two vets that are like fringe starters, occasionally, coming off the bench, and honestly could be justified DNPs in certain scenarios.
yeah,
But at the same time, I would rather Detroit Pistons take swings on vets to keep them competitive than it was, 2 seasons ago, which felt like a millennia of them just being dog shit because they didn't have real NBA players for the longest time.
yeah, yeah. I'm kind of like, eh, like I feel like Chris Levert hasn't been really that guy for a while. Um, I think you're right. If they kind of just split it up between him and Duncan Robinson, maybe they're cooking with something. But if they're just gonna have like, all right, fight for the starting role, then the other guy's just gonna ride the bench. It's kind of like, why, bro? Why would you do that? Why don't you shoot for a third center? Like, why don't you do like why don't you shoot for like something that you might actually need instead of like throwing darts or spinning that wheel to find your Malik Beasley replacement? It just kind of seems like they're going about it the wrong way.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of the Rockets. Rockets know what they needed and they went out and got it.
Yeah,
The Pistons are searching for what they need and are trying to find an answer for that through
yeah,
signings. Uh, and it's just like one is the period at the end of a sentence, and this is the question mark.
yeah,
We just gotta see how this pans out.
yeah. All right. And then I'm bringing this up because, it made you wonder what's going to happen in Milwaukee. And then we got our answer not too shortly after. But Brook Lopez left the Bucks after a while, bro. He was on the Bucks for a fat minute to be with the Clippers on a 2-year, $18 million deal. Um, how you feel about this one?
I know in terms of centers, Brook Lopez is old as dirt,
Yeah,
but he's
kind of.
been the fact he's been such a reliable starter for so long, and we're about to see that end in on the Clippers is a little sad, considering there's no way he's starting over Zubac.
No way, bro.
So to see him in his twilight years, about to ride it out in the warm weather of LA, a little sad. But I think it's even more sad for the Bucks because I don't know if they let him walk of their own volition or if he was always going to walk. And then the Miles Turner thing happened out of necessity. Um, but yeah, I guess enjoy LA, Brook Lopez. Um, it feels like he's been around forever.
Bro, he really has, bro. He really, because he's always been a good player. Like,
Right,
that's
like
what's crazy.
this is the guy who's got the leading scoring in the Brooklyn Nets franchise. Him of all people.
Yeah, like he was around when they were New Jersey, bro. Like he's been in the league for so long, and I feel like he's getting kind of underrated for that. How long he's been in the league, and not only that, but he's basically been a starter his entire career, bro. Like I think the only time he wasn't good was when he was on the Lakers.
Yeah, and that was like there's a bunch of young guys, and I don't know if Brook Lopez is like the leader of any team. That was just unfortunate. But like he kind of revitalized himself after that because he got like a 3-point shot that was nuts, especially for a
Yeah.
center. Like he didn't have that 3-point shot in the beginning. So he's one of those guys that revitalized himself.
And then, yeah, we gotta talk about the big news. I'm going backwards. One happened before the other, but we gotta talk about Miles Turner. Um, After being on the trade block for almost his entire career, he leaves the second he gets the chance for a 4-year, $107 million deal with the Milwaukee Bucks. They also include the player option in 28-29.
It's a big pickup for the Bucks only because there's not as many very good defensive centers that also shoot the three ball very well, which they need for Giannis for spacing wise. So this is as good as a replacement you could get for Brook Lopez if you were to
Yeah,
move on to him. Uh, but it's just such a stinker for Indiana. They just didn't want to pay that man. It wasn't like ridiculous money. Like he saw Nas Reed's contract, and Nas Reed, backup center, 25 million a year, 5 years, and you want a little more than that. I think that's doable. But I remember in the finals, there was that report out that the Pacers haven't been in the luxury tax for like a decade or more, even. So this is just like the owners being cheap. Like, why
yeah,
wouldn't you invest more in your finals team? Is beyond me. But for the Bucks, there's still more questions considering you waive Damian Lillard to make this happen. So they don't have a point guard anymore. And Miles Turner, I think, could very well be an improvement over Brook Lopez, but I don't think he's your second star on this team. Like Damian Lillard and Brook Lopez essentially being the cost for Miles Turner feels like a downgrade in that regard. You're losing two great players. Like you can't do anything about the Achilles tear with Damian Lillard. But
yeah,
you still have to do something more beyond this to help Giannis. Because if I'm Giannis, I'm still on the phone, waiting for what's to come. Because if this is the last move, I may still be like, get me out of here. It's
yeah,
just it was such a surprise this was even a possibility. Because even while the finals were happening, pre Tyrese Halliburton Achilles tear, it was like lined up that Miles Turner was going to sign his extension. And if it really was the Tyrese Halliburton changing like the timeline of what the owners thought and what their payday motivations were going to be, then that really does suck. That's going to have more ripple effects than anything that has happened in the Pacers franchise. But all those years spent, Miles Turner stayed loyal. He kept signing those extensions. And the one time it pays off, you don't want to pay him in return.
yeah,
That's just lame to see.
yeah. I I'm excited for the Bucks for sure. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm not excited because I'm like, oh shit, they're gonna win it all this year. I'm excited because maybe they're cooking something up. Maybe they have something planned. Um, you don't sign Miles Turner, and then I think they're still gonna get rid of Giannis, bro. I'm not gonna lie. And I think Miles Turner is just that guy they're gonna use to keep selling tickets. Because at the end of the day, I cannot see Miles Turner being that piece that the Bucks need to justify keeping Giannis, bro. Like he's a good player. He was the star of the Pacers for the longest time. He was the guy winning them games. But it's not a coincidence that he became third fiddle like pretty quickly, bro. Like they got Siakam and Halliburton, and now that man's the third option. It's not because he's not good. It's just because I don't think he can be first option, and I don't think he should be second option. Um, it's just one thing that does suck is that Damian Lillard had to get caught in the crossfire for all of this, getting waived so they could use that money to pay Miles Turner. Like Lillard was still pretty. He was inconsistent, but that man was putting up points for them. You know?
Yeah, like if you go from first option to second option, I think this is the ideal like production you get from Damian Lillard.
Yeah.
Um, but the fact they waived him, this is like the fattest contract to ever get waived and stretched throughout 5 years. They're gonna be paying like 20 million a year to Damian Lillard until like 2030,
Yeah.
which is crazy because that's like good starter money.
Yeah.
Um,
No. That's Clint Capella just got that contract.
it's like
Like it's crazy.
the fact that they're gonna have. Oh man, they really must be desperate if they pulled a move like this. Also, I've seen reports that Damian Lillard is reportedly happy about this because, like, Achilles tear, he could go wherever he wants after. He could go back to Portland, you know, throughout his rehab process,
Yeah.
which apparently was a point of issue with the Bucks because they wanted him to stay in Milwaukee through rehab, allegedly. I don't know if that's true or not, but it was kind of weird if they did want to do that. I would think, but now it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Um, what is a problem is that money, bro. Like, it's definitely going to make it tough to sign that second star if they even get one.
Yeah.
Um,
And not only that, but I honestly would have loved to see Miles Turner, Dame, and Giannis in Milwaukee, bro. Like, but like they couldn't have done it without getting rid of Damian Lillard, and so it just sucks, bro. Like we would never have been able to see it in the first place. And not only that, but like I think it's just so all around head scratcher from the Bucks. I don't think Miles Turner was I thought they needed, but I am. It makes them way more interesting than they were like a month ago.
yeah, the move has turned what was like for sure that Giannis is going to ask out to like, will he stay or will he ask out still? It's just
Yeah.
we even now we don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
I,
Um, speaking of paying a lot of money, SGA agreed to a 4-year, 285 million supermax contract extension through 2030-31 with the Thunder. Bro, crazy that they could have like how this might not even hurt them. Sometimes supermax extensions can sometimes be like, "Ooh, that's going to be a hindrance in a couple years." This might not even be like anything for the Thunder. How do you feel about this one?
I think coming up year 4 or 5 of that contract, there'll be a problem. But they have so much of a window right now. I don't think you're worried.
Yeah,
It's just so much money. Like I watched the Jalen Brown, Jason Tatum top heavy contracts put Celtics in a bind. I watched Damian Lillard, Giannis contracts put the Bucks in a bind. Um, there's other teams out there likely that will run in the same hurdle, and but this is a problem. You know, today, tomorrow, the next day, I'm not sweating if I'm the Thunder. It's
yeah,
also the money you had to give the MVP and champion. You were never not going to give him the supermax.
yeah. True.
Um, so it's not like anyone really should be upset over this. It's just it was necessary.
Yeah, I had nothing else to add on. Like I feel like him getting that bag, it was gonna happen. Um, I feel like yeah, you're right. Like it's not a hindrance right off the bat. It might be come around, that 4th year. Uh, but usually these contracts are annoying the 2nd and 3rd year. The fact that it might not be annoying to the 4th year is like the Thunder are in a pretty good situation where they have a fat window to win another championship. It's just how are they gonna play it. Uh, it's always contracts that you don't expect to hurt them, that ends up hurting. Like it's just like how are they gonna play it from here on? Because you know, Dalen Williams, that contract's gonna expire soon. Lou Dort, got Chet, like these contracts, like you can't keep all of these guys, bro. And it's like eventually, who are you gonna pick and choose? All right. Next up, I don't know if I want to talk about that, honestly. Never mind, I'm skipping that. Next up, Raptors extended Jacob Poeltl, $104 million contract extension for 4 years. Why? I'm bringing this up because I'm like, why, bro? I don't know what's your thoughts, Vaughn?
No, I'm in the same boat. I'm like, if I'm a rebuilding franchise, right? Why am I going to stick with the starting center I've had for the past like 5 years or whatever it's been? It feels like forever. Especially on teams that haven't even made playoffs. Like you could invest in a new younger center, develop him, and probably have a better outcome in 2 years rather than keeping Poidal for this long. Um, Maybe it's a piece of me just wanted to see like a team out there that needed a center, scoop him up. But like I think this is the most boring move that could have happened for his career specifically and for the Raptors. Because their starting five alone is pretty expensive. And I would have thought the guy that would have left would have been Poidal. But I guess not. It seems like they're stuck right now. But they're not doing anything to like unstuck themselves.
It's just kind of like one of those things where, like, it wouldn't make sense, maybe, because he left the Nuggets. He left the Nuggets, went to the Spurs, and then the Nuggets, the Raptors. He left the Raptors, went to the Spurs, and came back. And it's just one of those things like, okay, what are you seeing him this time that you didn't last time and you traded him to the Spurs? It's also like you said, if you're a rebuilding franchise, $100 million contract is not something you should honestly be giving out, especially to a 29-year-old, bro. Like you're rebuilding. The last move of the season you should be making is re-signing anyone for a contract that big. Um, I just feel like is your future, like when you look at the Raptors, when you look at your team, are you really seeing like, who should we make sure get paid after Scotty? Jacob Poeltl. Like, no, bro. Like you have a lot of young guys that could develop that you might wish you had that money for. I don't know. I just feel like it's so odd. It just makes you wonder, like, what do they see in him that makes him worth keeping?
If Masai Ujiri was still there, I'd be like, maybe he's got a plan to like flip him in a trade or something. But I don't know if they even like replace their GM. I don't know who's operating the front office right now.
Yeah,
This could have been a panic move. I don't know.
yeah,
It just I hate it.
yeah. It makes no sense. All right. Next up, bringing this up because it's our team. Normally, I would skip this. That should give you how I feel about it. Tim Hardaway Jr. signed a 1-year deal with the Denver Nuggets. Like I said, if it wasn't my team, I would have skipped this trade because deciding because boring. Loki. How do you feel about it?
He's got a like a deck of cards. You just never know what you're gonna get. Um, Sometimes it's a 20 piece. Sometimes it's a 5 piece. Sometimes it's a 15 piece. It's just Jokic could get more out of him, I think. At times he's a good shooter,
Yeah,
and then other times he's just like he's just standing there. Like he's just existing on the court, not really contributing much. Um to me, and I unfortunately think throughout his whole career, he's never been that guy to contribute to winning.
mm-hmm.
I don't want to say empty stats because I feel like there have been cases where he has won them a team games, but I just can't invest much stock into the Tim Hardaway Jr. sweepstakes for in 2025. I think that time has come and passed. But this is another situation of like at least you are filling more tools in your bucket than you did last year.
Yes. Surprisingly, I don't hate this as much as Bruce Brown because my problem with Bruce Brown was like it seemed like we were just doing it to do it. At least with Tim Hardaway Jr., like it's like a position or like a player that I'm like I can see us using that somewhat. Like Like I can see why they did it. I'm glad to be filling out our bench and to have guys who can either give us, 20 or nothing. Because I'd rather have that than guys who can literally not even step on the court because you know for sure they won't provide anything. And that's what our bench looked like for the longest time. Is we had guys who like you couldn't put on the court because you know for sure they won't produce. At least with Tim Hardaway Jr. and Bruce Brown, there's a chance they'll produce. But I just feel like the Nuggets moves this season, it's making everyone think we're contenders. When in reality, I feel like it's just going to be another season where Jokic is just going to like do his thing, utilize his pieces, and then like sometimes that's going to hurt us, and sometimes it's going to get us a win. And I feel like we might finish high in the standings this year, but I don't know if we'll win it all unless all these guys actually do produce like we want them to. It's just like a bunch of inconsistencies that we have right now. It's
Yeah,
just
and
like I don't know how any of these guys will actually do until I see them play.
I hope at least one of these signings could prove to be like a reliable go-to guy all year long,
Yeah,
rather than what I expect to happen, especially with a new coach, to be like, it's your turn to go out there and try and do something. Oh, he has no rhythm. I'll try this guy instead. Oh,
yeah.
he's not in a rhythm. Try this guy instead. And those three are just in flux. You don't know what could be relied on every game to game.
Mhm.
I will say I am more excited to see the Denver Nuggets play than the last 3 years.
Yeah,
Uh,
true.
only because at least, like I said at the beginning, they're trying something.
I am excited. I'm not gonna lie, I am excited. I'm just worried. But like I said, the only reason why I'm so pessimistic is because of the Jonas Valanciunas situation. If he decides to stay and actually play, I think we have a shot at getting to the conference finals. But if he actually does retire, sit out, or walk away completely, I'm sticking with my pessimism. I think he's the entire thing that brings it together, Loki.
Yeah, I can't disagree.
All right. And then our last signing, before we try to, we might have to speed round our our season recap and trade talk or prediction talk. But our last one I'm going to bring up, DeAndre Ayton agreed to sign with the Los Angeles Lakers, 2-year deal that includes a player option. They finally got their center. Is it a good center? What do you think, Vaughn?
Another question mark. It should be. I should be out here saying I should be out here glazing this man, but I physically cannot do it because the fact that it was like his Portland Trailblazer years were like marked by him showing very low effort, very low care at certain points, and you could see him complaining on the bench.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't. He should be considered like a vet, like a new time vet, first entering his vet years, and he still seems kind of immature in some spots.
It was
Could just be me reading into things too much. On the upside, he's an athletic center, lob threat,
yeah.
perfect for Luca, perfect for LeBron. Um, he has all the tools, the physical gifts, born to be a good rebounder, and he proved that for most of his Phoenix Suns years. And just like he has more weapons on offensively than you would think just looking at him. He has a midi, he has a hook shot, he's got moves to get to the rim, so he can score. But it's just at times, again, the effort kills me. So I hope the change of scenery in LA. I'm assuming they're going to be more competitive than the Portland Trailblazers, because if not, that would be very sad. And that the coach figures something out with him where he feels comfortable, that he feels like he's a key part of this team, because we don't need another disaster. Monty Williams versus DeAndre and leading into like a complete reshaping of that team.
Yeah.
So as long as that doesn't happen, I think this is pretty good for them, especially since the contract is pretty cheap.
Yeah.
based on like what DeAndre Ayton could offer you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 16.6 million. By the way, I didn't say that.
Yeah, it was just so insane to see that the Blazers straight up waived him. You couldn't find a trade. Oh, it was a buyout, like a straight up buyout instead of like a trade. Like no team out there was willing to offer you anything for him. It's just, I think it's telling for that situation that they just wanted to be rid of him rather than find what was best for the franchise.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing: is that it really will just come out to his attitude because JJ Redick is a hard ass, bro. Like we saw him cussing out players. Like he was like a no, like take no shit kind of coach. And so that attitude does worry me because if Monty Williams, like, got on his bad side, JJ Redick is not going to be his favorite person on that team, bro. JJ Redick is going to, like, he might be, like, miserable playing underneath JJ Redick. But if he actually, contributes, like, actually, takes it, like, seriously, acts like a number one round, like a number one pick, he could be a solid piece. I mean, he was, 14 points on almost 60% shooting. Like that man can be a reliable center for the first time. Like, come on, bro. Let's be honest. Anything is better than Jackson Hayes, bro. like, like no shade to Jackson Hayes. You're gonna be a good backup center. I'm sure you will be. But like when you had Jackson Hayes and Alex Len out there, bro, Aiton is definitely a step up. I just hope he doesn't, ruin it for himself because he has opportunity. He can be a solid piece for the Lakers, and he could be what they need at that center position. It's just will he be? Who knows? Because yeah, but what does it say about you that the Blazers of all people were like, get out of my team, get out of my team, like get off of this roster. All
Yeah.
right.
Um, was that
Any
our last one?
seconds? That's the
Yeah.
last one I brought up.
Okay. I to the New York Knicks, they signed Jordan Clarkson, which is like the minor signing, and then Guershon Yabusele to a 2-year deal. Which I'm happy for Guershon Yabusele.
I didn't even know
A
the Clarkson one went through. That's why I
yeah.
skipped that. Okay.
Oh well, allegedly, I guess. But for Guershon Yabusele, I'm glad he's getting his money, and B, he's off the 76ers. Uh, I still think the Sixers should be looking to rebuild, and they're not. They're primed to try and make another push again. But I'm glad Yabusele is out of that mess. I think he could be a very key contributor to the New York Knicks, especially if Mike Brown is the head coach.
Yeah.
Um, I think even if it comes down to like an 8-man rotation, Yabusele will be a part of that. He's proven himself this year. He's proven himself overseas, and it's time for him to be competing.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. Like I said, I skipped over it because I honestly thought that Jordan Clarkson was a rumor. I didn't know it like was official. So the Knicks made two good pickups because one, um, like just like Jordan Clarkson getting out of Jazz, I feel like he could provide something for them. Um, just because he was that guy for a while. Especially if he's coming off the bench, like that's kind of where he thrives. Um, and then it's just a happy moment for Yabusele because that man went from never seeing the NBA after 2 years. That man was on Boston for like 2 years, was out of here to looking like a LeBron James stopper. And so yeah, I am happy for him. Um, on the Knicks, he could be a lot of fun. It's just like how are they going to use him?
True, because like their shooting isn't the greatest overall as a team, but I
Yeah,
think if he's coming off the bench for a quick scoring punch, I think he's still very useful.
yeah. I mean, 50% from the field. Like, come on, 38% from the three. Like, we're looking at like a guy who can come off the bench and just like really just be reliable, get a bucket when you need it. And he's not young. He's not old either, bro. Like he's not even 30 yet.
Yeah, he shouldn't be on his decline already. Like this should be his prime.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. All right. Any other signings I skipped over that you want to talk about?
Dennis Schroeder signs 3-year deal to the Kings. Look, Dennis Schroeder, if he gets his money, I think it's good for him. After allegedly turning down that Lakers offer, that would have been his fat payday. But the Sacramento Kings, bro, what are you doing? They just love being a mid team.
Yeah, bro.
Considering you've lost De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, and now you want to get rid of Malik Monk and essentially replace him with Dennis Schroeder, this might be the middest of mid teams to ever mid.
And I know you needed a point guard, but you couldn't do any better than Dennis Schroeder. Come on now.
I
And
know Dennis Schroeder. Love him as a 6-man, starting point guard. No, that's a recipe for disappointment.
all right. Real quick, season recap and spin the rock recap. I'm trying to make this as quickly as possible. These signings are just interesting enough to talk about, so they take up a lot of time. But they're also not interesting enough to be like make me feel like the league is getting shaken up. So right off the bat, um, let's see if I can find it here. Why don't you talk about your spin the wheel team, Vaughn? How was that for you?
Um, okay, it's better than I would have hoped. I got the Golden State Warriors. I was kind of white knuckling through their games. Like, damn, I have to force myself to watch this team of all teams. At times it was like fun to hate watch. Like Steve Kerr, why are you running that lineup? Why is this man
Yeah.
playing? Why is this guy not playing? And that happened all year long, even into the playoffs. Um, it also makes me admire the divisive fan base because they'll say some crazy dumb shit like, "Oh, we could get Kaminga for LeBron James." Like, bro, that is not happening. And I love seeing the embrace of Jimmy Butler when he arrived,
Mhm.
and I love seeing the haters in the own fan base being like, "No, Andrew Wiggins is a better player," and then watch the Warriors ascend through the standings. So that felt good to watch. And the Jimmy Butler addition. Jimmy Butler is one of my favorite players playing in the league right now. So that was a very nice treat to end the regular season off. And you know, Warriors fans are still saying like, "What if Curry didn't go down in the playoffs?" And at least that aspect was interesting. I'm just glad I didn't get like a lottery team Warriors. Like that's happened in the past. Um, But what was so frustrating the most was just easily fixed problems, I would say. Like maybe don't ice out Jonathan Kaminga and then expect him to pick it up in the playoffs. Like, that's so fucking dumb. It's insane. Um, it makes me I think that the Warriors fan base misses the former GM. After 2022, that GM left after the finals win, and it's been like questionable decision, like an okay decision, but it's never been like ballpark amazing W win decision. The closest we ever got to that was Jimmy Butler being traded, I would say.
Mhm.
But now that that's all concluding, I'm really glad to be, looking to my next wheel spin team.
Yeah. I had the Hornets. I'm the first ever person to get two teams. The same team twice. We've been doing this for 3 years. Everyone got a different team, and then I, for the first time ever, gotten a team twice. And not only that, I'm also the only person to have only ever had poverty teams. Um, I had the Hornets and the Raptors are the only teams I've ever had and both have been bottom of the barrel. I'm hoping next season I get one, a different team, and two, a team that's fun to watch, bro. The Hornets this season, it was like nothing changed. I recognized most of the roster. I recognized the style of play. I wasn't phased by the fact that LaMelo was out all the time. Even though he was playing a lot more this season, he was still out a lot. So it was like basically as if nothing happened, which is crazy, bro. Because if you're a poverty team who's been poverty for a while, and you get guys like Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball, you have Trey Mann, who's all right, I guess. You have young guys, but you're basically the same team you were 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Like, come on, bro. What are we doing in Charlotte? Like, what are we doing? And then we have, that trade that happened. We have Connect now, who like that doesn't make me excited. Um,
Wait, he's still on the Lakers though.
I thought he rejoined them.
No, because that was the Mark Williams trade, wasn't it?
I thought he. I thought I saw that he joined them this offseason. Maybe I'm confusing him with someone else.
Yeah, he's still on the Lakers.
Never mind then. But we had that whole debacle either way.
Yeah, that was bizarre. Never seen that in a long time.
Like that was just insane. So we have another young player that we're adding in Knuppel. But that's like a guy. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'm sleeping on Knuppel. Um, like I know he went number 4, and he's a guy that like should perform for them. But like, bro, if you're Charlotte, bro, I honestly want fucking Ace Bailey more than Knuppel, even though Ace Bailey was not good these past few games. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
I'm just excited to have a different team, and
yeah, you
hopefully
and me
not
both.
bother.
Yeah, if you get this team the third year in a row, what I don't even know what we can do for you besides like life support.
Yeah, no, for real. All right. And then predictions. We'll start with Eugene's because we can't really expand on any of his what he was going for and why he said what he said. We have Lakers back to back NBA Cup. AD will not win an award. Cavs undefeated into All Star break. Pistons beat the Knicks in New York. Detroit will make the playoffs and Bucks will miss the playoffs. So those were his predictions. None of them were necessarily awful. The Cavs undefeated into All Star break was crazy, bro.
That oh my god! Even at the time, I'm just like, maybe he thinks All Star break is like 2 months sooner. There's just no way. That would have been record breaking.
That
Like,
would be historical, like never seen again. I don't like that was crazy, bro. I think you're right. I think he thought we were closer to All Star break than we actually were. And then Vaughn, we have here yours. Jason Tatum, career high in assists. Steve Kerr wins Coach of the Years. Clippers won't win more than one playoff game.
the Jason Tatum one I hit
You did hit.
unexpectedly. Not only that, Jaylen Brown I think also hit career high in assists. And you know what? At the end of the day, it meant nothing because we didn't see those. We didn't see that Jason Tatum. We didn't see that Jaylen Brown in the playoffs. Unfortunately, Steve Kerr winning Coach of the Year. Thank God that did not happen.
Yeah.
That was just my worst fears coming out. Um, but it didn't hit. And then what was my last one? Oh,
Uh,
Clippers. Oh,
to win more than one playoff game.
that was just the hate inside of me. I'm
And
not mad.
surprisingly, it wasn't the worst take in the road.
No, it wasn't crazy far off, but um, that was just me trying to speak that into existence. I did not want to see success for the Clippers franchise.
Fuck the Clippers. All right. And then Mine, Steve Kerr will finally be on the hot seat. Cavs will be a second round exit. Pelicans will be the worst team in the league, and then the Raptors will knock the Sixers out of the playoffs. Um, I mean, the one that was probably the greatest prediction in uh Spin the Rock history because we had some pretty amazing predictions. We had
Mm.
Kings will be play-ins, but we were still off. The Kings were like the third seed. You know, we had some pretty amazing predictions in the past, but when I said Cavs second round exit, people are saying Cavs were going to win it all.
Yeah, like you and me both shared skepticism of the Cavs, but you saying second round, I'm like, I I I feel like they're a lock for Eastern Conference Finals, and there's just no way to have without like a glass ball, magic glass ball, to envision this. Them going down easily in the second round.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's a crazy hit.
yeah. I back then I said it out of the fact that I thought nothing changed. And like it was one of those takes where it was bad for the longest time. My take was off. Like they were just staying consistently good. A lot had changed in the Cavs. I was saying like, oh, nothing's changed. Like they're really just the same team. They're just playing better. And then like, of course, I was wrong because they were just a different team. They were playing better, but also they were playing a different type of um, game. And then it happened, bro. They just, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for them in the playoffs. And now what was a really bad take turned into one of the greatest takes in Spin the Rock history. It was crazy. It was like a complete 180 of a take. In the end, I think what hurt them was just that they just wouldn't stop shooting 3-pointers, bro. And even though that was why they were so successful in the regular season and why they were a different team in general, it just was like teams just refused to like change their game plan this playoffs. It was wild. I don't know why every team that lost was because they refused to change how they were playing, especially in the East, bro.
Yeah,
All
the
right.
East was just like a badly written plot. You know, it was just the same issue all throughout. Cavs are the
Yeah.
victim. I just coming up next season, I don't know what the Cavs do to like shift that mentality.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right. Steve Kerr, hot seat. He got saved by Jimmy Butler. I feel like if Jimmy Butler didn't get traded to the Warriors, he would be getting so much more flack. But it just seems like no matter how bad of a decision he makes, he just won't catch heat. He just really won't get criticized, even by like fans who criticize everybody for everything. Like it's like he's untouchable, bro. His
Well,
lineups are awful, and like
if you
his decision making is also awful.
if you mention any criticism about Steve Kerr to a Warriors fan, it turns into four-time champ. It turns into the Shaq thing, bro. How
Yeah,
many rings do you have?
yeah,
Like he's just lucked out into all these scenarios where he's got Steph Curry, best shooter ever. Jimmy Butler trade happened. There's all these things that just mount up to make them look better.
yeah. Pelicans worst team in the league wasn't a bad take. Of course, I didn't hit it because the Wizards, and it was a Jazz were just god awful this year. Yeah, the Jazz, Wizards, Jazz, and Hornets were all below 20 games, and the Pelicans had 21. I feel like it just was at the time, you know, it wasn't a bad take at the time. It was just kind of like okay, well, yeah, sure. Um, I think I said it because everyone thought the Wizards were gonna have another stinker, and I was like, no, bro, the Pelicans are gonna be even worse. And of course they weren't. The Wizards did have another stinker, and the Jazz had even worse of a stinker. So it was just like the Pelicans locked out. Um, and then I said the Raptors would inch out the Sixers for the play-ins. I said that because at the time the Raptors were like 2 games behind the Sixers, but then the Sixers just imploded on themselves, and neither team made the play-in. I also was hype about them getting Ingram and like shit like that. Like I think I was the only one though. I think a lot of people at the time were like, "Who's beating this team in the play-ins?" But
themselves apparently.
yeah, they just weren't as good and didn't work at all. So they just kind of went from oh shit, they might make the play-ins to oh, I guess they're just not gonna
Bro,
do anything
Brandon
again this year.
Brandon Ingram didn't even suit up in a Raptors uniform yet on the court. He was injured
Yeah,
for all that time. It's just like, what can you really do?
yeah. All right, and so that's our predictions. Anything you want to say about the season altogether? First off, what would you grade the NBA season as a whole before we wrap
Mm,
it up?
like an A minus. There were so much unexpected things that happening and so much shifting going on. The playoffs was crazy all throughout. Even if some of our teams didn't, perform to as expected.
Yeah,
And there was some heartbreak with some injuries going among across the league. But overall, it was very exciting. Like it was such a big question mark. Um, like I'm glad I'm really wrong on some certain takes because it just means it's not a predictable league. Um, but yeah, if next season is just exciting, well then I think we're all winning.
yeah. Um, uh, I give it a B plus, and I only give it a B plus instead of like an A or an A minus, is because I'm a big fan of rookies, and when rookie classes can also make or break a season for me. And the rookie race this year would have been so much more fun if Jared McCain didn't get injured. But the second he got injured, bro, the rookie race was like nobody gave a shit anymore. And I tried to keep up with it. I tried to get hype into it on the pod and like talk about how, you know, there like were people, but like even like the ones who did contend were not that great. Stephon Castle was the only person like the reason why he won is because there was no one else who could actually realistically contend for it at the time. Um, and then not only that, but like at first it was like, oh, it's gonna be Edie, McCain, and Castle. It's gonna look like it's gonna heat up, and then Edie just like never got better, and so it was like it just like it turned into like the Stephon Castle show. I would have loved if it like played out the way everyone thought it was gonna play out with Rob Dillingham, Edie, Castle, and like McCain just like really going off, but it just didn't happen. All right, but B plus, honestly, I think everything was unexpected. Like Rockets were so high, no one saw that coming. The like the Luka Doncic trade will go down in history as like the craziest moment in NBA history, probably. Um, the Cavs coming out of nowhere, the finals being two small market teams, like that's crazy. Uh, the Pistons going from the worst team ever in history to playoffs. Like it was just like all around. Like no one could have actually predicted the season. Next season, I'm excited for um because it's gonna be a completely different season again. Of how many injuries, of like the little things that change. It's just looking like it's gonna be a completely different season, and that's why I'm excited, is because it's gonna be unpredictable.
Right, like the East is wide open now with those key injuries happening. Some key players leaving those teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then is the West, you know, have they solved the OKC Thunder question? Can they match up with them? Like I think the best shot is like the Rockets, but like again, I like being wrong. And this could be another instance of me being wrong. Maybe somehow the Kings pull another crazy, playoff push. Just anything, bro. Anything.
All right, yeah, we'll see. Yeah, bro, I'm excited. I kind of wish we had more time to talk about the end of season recap, and not just our spin the rock stuff. But the trades once again took up a lot more time than we thought it would. Um, just because, like I said, they're interesting enough to talk about. So like it's like hard to skip a lot of them. Just because it's like even though nothing is like, oh shit, this team is now gonna win it all, it is still like, why did this team do it? How does this affect this team? Yada yada yada. Next week, if I'm not mistaken, is either, let's see. Um, yeah, I think next week we'll do our draft class ranking, and then our prospects episode is gonna follow that because I honestly have no clue when the summer league starts. It always starts
It just started, didn't it?
well, like the Las Vegas one, the one
Oh,
where you can
okay.
actually win. Every time it starts, I'm like, oh shit, it started.
Yeah, I
But
had no idea it was popping up now.
yeah, so I know they're like doing the California one, and then the Salt Lake City one is going on now. Um, so those two are happening, but the Las Vegas one starts the 10th, ends the 20th. So yeah, so next week will be our draft class tier list. So tune in for that. You don't want to miss it. And then after that will be our prospect episode. So if you like rookies, you like talking about the rookies, July will be a fun season for you, fun month for you. So make sure you stick around. If you're listening on podcast platforms, make sure you give that 5 stars. You leave a review. We're also on all social media platforms, so make sure you follow us there for clips, episode updates, all that good stuff. And of course, video format, we're at YouTube, so make sure you like and subscribe there. Let us know what you thought about this season. Let us know what you think about the off-season moves. A lot is happening, so let us know what you think altogether on how this off-season looks. Yeah, thank you for watching. We'll hope to see you again next week.